In today's video, I'm going to be making the craziest map that I've made so far. So in the BTD6 Map Editor, there are a lot of maps that have like the subject of space, and I thought it'd be a really cool idea if I actually made my own space map. Now for the space map, it's going to be kind of difficult, but I have a couple of ideas that I want to try. So the first thing I want to do is I want to change the background, but the preset backgrounds aren't really the backgrounds that I'm looking for. So we'll go ahead and keep the background as the grass, and then we're going to come over to the areas, and then I'm going to go ahead and add a water section of the map, and then we're going to go ahead and like kind of make a random design in the background, and then we're going to work with the water background to make our actual space map. All right, so we just want to add a couple of wave effects in the background here, kind of make it look like this. All right, so now that we have the background with the water, next thing I want to do is I want to add a sand background. Because the thing that I'm going to be trying to make is I'm going to be trying to make like a nebula, and the nebulas that I found on the internet have like a yellowish background, and the only yellow background that we have is of course the sand. All right, so I think this is starting to look pretty good. There we go. Now, I know you guys are probably thinking, like, how is my dude going to be turning this blank background into a space map? And you guys will see that here in just a second. So I like the way this is looking. Let me go ahead. We'll come over here. We'll come over to our layers and see if it'll be better to have the water background in the front or if it's better to have the sand background in the front. I kind of like the water background a little bit more in the front. So we'll go ahead and play like this. Now, the next thing we need to do is we need to go ahead and make this a little bit darker. Because right now it's too vibrant, it's too like out there. So in order to make this look a little bit more like space, I need to go ahead and make this way darker. And I'm going to be doing that by adding a shade effect under the stamps tab. Now to start off with, I'm going to do a very light layer of shade effects. So because I don't want to do too crazy, because I actually want to use the blue and the yellow background, because I think that'll add a really, really cool effect. So right now, this is just going to be the basic shade background, and then we'll start going a little bit more in depth with the shading as we progress. Now, one thing I want to do is I want to keep like some lines with these shade effects. So actually, I'm going to go ahead and redo this because I want the lines to be a little bit more prominent. All right, so this is going to be our start. So right now we have a very dominant blue line here. We have a very dominant yellow line here as well. Then we have a couple of smaller accents here in the back. Now, the next thing I want to do is I want to get rid of this hard line with the sand. And I'm going to do that by using these shader effects once again. But the first thing I want to do is I want to add a new layer. So we'll go ahead and open up this layer here, and then we'll go ahead and start adding some more shades here along this line. That way the line will like kind of like start to blend out. Now this line is going to be way darker, but don't worry because I do have a plan for this because I don't want just like a massive black line going through the middle of the map. So I do have a plan for this. All right, so I think this should do it for the black line that kind of like broke up the sand and the water areas. So now the next thing I want to do is I want to start adding a couple more shade effects to like make it the blue a little bit dimmer. And then I also want to go ahead and like make this blue line a little bit thinner as well, because I don't want the line to be like that big. And then we could go ahead and add another little like a darker background here. So I think that should be a pretty good effect there. Now the next thing I want to do is I want to go ahead and add to this black line. That way it kind of like breaks it up a bit. And now I'm going to be doing the same thing that I did with this top part blue. And now I'm going to be doing the same thing I did with the top here in the bottom. All right, so it's starting to come together a little bit more. So I'm going to go ahead and add another little like shade effect here to link up the black background once more. All right, so far it's looking pretty good. And now the next thing I want to do, that way I can get this out of the way, I'm going to go ahead and add some star effects. So luckily in the BTD6 Map Editor, we actually have an effect that adds stars to our map. Now with this, I'm just going to be placing a bunch of them around the map to go ahead and give these star effects. Now this is just going to be like, so I have an idea of what my background is going to be looking like, and so then I can add some more details as we progress in making our map. All right, so now we have stars in the background. Now the next thing I want to do is I want to add a planet. So with the planet, I'm going to go ahead and use the sand area effect, because the sand area effect is going to work really, really well. Now we also need to go ahead and turn the area so it's a little bit higher up in the hierarchy. All right, so there we go. Now we need to go ahead and edit the area, and I want to make this planet a little bit bigger. All right, so we're about there. I just want to add a little bit more here because right now it's not looking, or doesn't look like a perfect circle. All right, I think that looks pretty good. Now, the next thing I have to do is I have to go ahead and get rid of all of these star effects that are within the range of our planet. Because unfortunately, in the BTD6 Map Editor, there's not a way to like change the layers of like props. So we're gonna have to try our best to like make sure that there aren't any stars on the actual planet. All right, so there we go. We removed all the stars from our planet. We still have one more up here. And then we'll grab, or I think there's one more as well. Well, that should be fine. All right, now the next thing I want to do is I want to go ahead and add some shade effects to our actual planet. So what I need to do is I need to go ahead and change a layer here. Let's go ahead and grab the shader effect once more. All right, so there we go. Now, the only question is, which side do I want the sun to be on? I think I want the sun to be on this side. That's way it's a little bit brighter. So let's go ahead and start adding these shade effects. All right, there we go. I think that should do it for the shade. This is the first time that I'm doing it, so it's not going to look perfect right off the bat. But hopefully, once I start getting a little bit more detail into it, it should look a little bit better. Now, because I want to make this Saturn, the next thing I want to do is I want to grab myself an area. So I think that should do it for the start of a Saturn's Ring. Now, the next thing I want to do is I want to go ahead and add another layer of stamps. So let's come over here to the layer. We'll add one more layer on top like this. Wait. Yeah. All right. So this is going to be a stamps layer 4. So let's go ahead and add ourselves. Actually, the first thing we need to do is we need to come over here back to layers, and we need to lower area 4 below these stamps like this. All right. So now let's go ahead and add these shaders to kind of like make this look like a background effect. All right, there we go. And now the next thing I want to do is I want to start adding a couple of bones, because these bones work really, really well for the Saturn's Ring effect. All right, now we need to go ahead and swap over to layer 5. And then with this layer 5, this is going to be the layer for our bones. Now with these bones, this is going to be pretty tricky, so we're going to have to try our best to get this as close as we can get it. And this is probably going to take a while because of the randomization. So the first thing we want to do, let's go ahead and get it like over here and over here. All right. So I'm going to go ahead and spend a little bit of time on this. I'll bring you guys back as soon as I have a rough outline for Saturn's Ring. All right, guys, this is taking forever. As you guys can tell from the giant pile of bones here. I need to go ahead and make sure, like, I keep placing down these stamps until I get the right rotation of the stamp that I'm looking for. All right, there we go. And so far, it's starting to come together quite nice. Now, this is only the first layer because we're going to add like 2 more layers to try and like make this pop a little bit more. Plus, I think by adding a couple of layers, it'll add a little bit of a depth to our ring. All right, so I think that's going to do it for the first layer. So let's go ahead and create a brand new layer. And then also, I'm going to go ahead and get rid of this pile of bones because we no longer need it. All right, so moving on to layer 6. Let's go ahead and add ourselves some shade effects. All right, so that is layer 6. And now you guys guessed it, we're going to add another layer and start placing down some more bones. And we're going to do this like 2 more times. All right, so we ran into our first issue, and our first issue is we ran out of items that we could actually place, which I kind of thought this was going to happen, but I wasn't expecting it to happen so soon. So the first thing I need to do is I need to go ahead and remove some of these shade effects from the actual planet itself. All right, so let's go ahead and remove a bunch of these shader effects because I used a lot of shader effects for the actual shade of the planet. So we'll come back to that after we get done with the Saturn's Ring, because Saturn's Ring is more important than the actual planet itself, because we don't need to have as much shade as I had on it. Now, why is it still saying maximum items reached? I just erased a bunch of items. Hello? There we go. All right, so I just had to back out and then come back in. So let's go ahead and switch layers over to layer 7 again. Then let's go ahead and add ourselves a new layer here with stamps. And then I think we can only add 1 more layer, and then I need to be really, really careful with this because then I'm not going to be able to add the shaders to the actual planet itself. And there's still some more things that I need to add to the background. So that's going to do it for Saturn's Ring. And now I would like to add more and grab a little bit more detail, but unfortunately we don't have very many like props that we can actually place left. So the next thing I want to do, I want to take a look at my layers, and I want to come over here to a stamp layer 7. Actually, let's drop down the stamp layer 4. We don't need to go super high because right now the Saturn's Ring is the highest stamp layer. Now I need to add a little bit of shade to the actual planet itself. Now right now it looks way too like bright. So I want to go ahead and add like a very faint like shadow that's on the actual planet itself. I'm looking at it, but I don't like the way it looks. Maybe I could do something else. Maybe I can add like a little bit of a glow effect behind the actual planet itself. Maybe that'll be a little bit better. Let's go ahead and erase all of the shade that we have here, because I think it's a little bit too dark. So let's go ahead and remove all the shade, and then I'm gonna go ahead and add another area behind the planet itself. All right, so which layer is the planet? I think it's this one. Yeah, cool. So it was area 3. Yes, so we need to go ahead and add another area and make it area 2. So with this area, I'm gonna go ahead and add the blue right here. And then we're gonna go ahead and make it so it's like just outside of the planet's radius. All right, now let's go ahead and change the layer of this water. So it's right here. All right, cool. So now the next thing I wanna do, let's go ahead and edit the water area once again. And then let's go ahead and make it so it's just like a very, very faint like outer glow like this. And then once we start adding like shades, it'll make it appear like this is like a glowing background behind the planet itself. And actually, speaking of this water glow, I wonder if this would look better in this area here if I used a different style of water. Let's actually check that really, really quick. It doesn't make a big difference what we use in the background. Let me go ahead and check out the different areas here. Actually, I kind of like this white one. I like the white one a little bit more than the blue one. All right, yeah, let's use the white one. All right, let's come back to this blue effect. Let's go ahead and start adding a couple of shades to it. Then I need this stamp layer 3 to be above all of the sand. So right here. I'm trying to figure it out here, but it's just not working the way that I want it to work. Maybe instead of like going crazy, we'll just leave the planet pretty basic. And then we'll just add like a couple of shades over here. Maybe that'll look good. It just like, let's get rid of this area. Area 5, so let's go ahead and delete it. And then let's go ahead and add a couple of shades to like kind of like blend out these shades right here. There we go. I think that looks all right. Like, it's not perfect, but I don't want to hit the limit with the props because I still have a couple things that I want to do to add a little bit more like wow factor. All right, so the thing that I'm going to use to add a little bit of a wow factor is actually going to be another prop that has a animated effect. And the prop that I'm going to use is I'm going to use this prop right here first. And then we're going to go ahead and position these around the map. And I actually want these to be positioned over the blue part of the background. All right, so that should do it for like the changing lights in the background space. Now I want to add some effects to the yellow bits as well. Now the thing that I want to use for the yellow bits is going to be this prop right here. Now this prop is going to be a little bit complicated to actually make it look good. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and mess around with the position. There we go. This is what I'm looking for right here. So what I'm going to do with this is I'm going to like make it appear in the background like this. And then we'll go ahead and change the position here like this. And then we'll go ahead and rotate it a little bit to add a little bit more, a little bit of a different effect. And I'm going to be like making this as like the animated part of these yellow parts. And then we can go ahead and rotate it like this. And let me see. There we go. All right, so like I was saying, this is a little bit complicated to make it, or a little bit rough to make it work. But once we actually make it work, like it's gonna look really, really good. All right, there we go. Now we just need to copy it one more time and move it over to the right. Where are you? There we go. Copy it and move you over here. And then just a little bit further. Let's actually shrink the size just a touch. There we go. And then we have one more spot where we need to make one, and it's going to be over here. So we'll go ahead and make it like right here, and then let's go ahead and tilt it a little bit. There we go. And then we'll copy it one more time, and then we'll do it like this. So now that we have like the main bread and butter of the map placed down, the next thing I want to do is I want to go ahead and come back to shading the actual planet. Because now if we run out of props, it's not going to be the end of the world because like we already have everything placed in the background that I wanted. So let's go ahead and come back over here to our layers. We're still on layer 3. Perfect. Now let's go ahead and try to make the shade look a little bit better. All right, and that is the max items reached. Now let's go ahead and mess around with this one a little bit because it looks a little bit wonky right now. Maybe if I make it a little bit smaller, we make it a little bit smaller, then we grab this one and we make this one a little bit smaller as well. There we go. How does this look? I don't want it overlapping too much because as you guys can see, like the lights blend there. How does that look? There we go. And now it looks like we're looking at a magical part of space. The last thing we need to do is we need to go ahead and add ourselves a pathway. And the pathway I'm going to be using is going to be a invisible pathway. Then the pathway, let me see, what path do I want to take? Maybe we'll have it like circle through like all of the different parts of space. So we'll have it start over here. Then let's go ahead and make it so it comes over here, following the light blue path, and then we'll have it come over here. And then we'll have it come over here. And then we'll have it end like way down here. So let's go ahead and have it come over here. Let's go ahead and make it come over here like this. Go around a Saturn's belt. Now with this, like the pathway really isn't like the most important part of this, because the main thing that I want to do is just make a really, really cool looking map. All right, and I think that should do it for the pathway. All right, so let's go ahead and play our map and see what it looks like in an actual game. All right, let's go ahead and name our map. Let's go ahead and name it Nebula, because I think that would look I think that's a pretty solid name for this map. No, I'll be playing it on easy standard because I already know we can beat this on Chimps, because the map itself shouldn't be too hard. The main thing I was going for this map is the detail. So let's go ahead and press play and see how difficult this map is going to be. Now, one thing I did is I did end up leaving the background the way it is, because I wanted to make sure that we could actually place down towers. So we'll place down a monkey sub right here. We could go ahead and place down a monkey sub here, and then it'll swap over to land like somewhere around here. All right, cool. So what do you guys think? Like, do you guys think I went a little bit too overboard with the lights, or do you guys think it looks pretty good? Like, I know it's not like a perfect like night sky or anything like that, because obviously stars don't like shine this brightly, and they don't like flicker that much. But I thought like using the star background and then like trying to make a space that looked like this, I think it looked pretty good. And this is the first time that I'm trying to make something like this. So as I try to make them more and more, then it should get a lot easier for me to actually like make a map that looks really, really good. And I'm not gonna lie, I think I need to talk to Ninja Kiwi and be like, yo, Ninja Kiwi, can you like increase the amount of props that you can use in the map editor? Because I want to make this a little bit more customized, guys. Now, I wonder if this is like the maximum limit that Ninja Kiwi can put in, or if they can go even higher. It would be nice if they could go higher, but if if we started adding more props, it would probably end up causing like mobile users to lag a little bit if we like went too crazy. But right now, like, I'm not noticing any like frame rate drops or anything like that. So I think we could add a few more props, or Ninja Kiwi could make it so we could add a few more props. Now that I'm looking at it a little bit more, I think I could have done without this in the background, and I could have went a little bit harder with like the sand background, because I think if I do this again, I'll add like a sand background up here, and then like mix and match the water backgrounds and the sand backgrounds to add a little bit more of an effect, because it looks good, but I think it would look a little bit better if I had like the blues intertwining with the yellows. But again, for my first attempt at this, I don't think it looks super bad. And let me know, guys, do you guys have any suggestions to make this map look a little bit better? Like, could I have like went a little bit less hard with like the props? But then again, I think the props like really make this map come to life. I almost wish I would have gotten rid of these though, because these are kind of like kind of blah. But as we do more and more of these style of maps, we will eventually get a lot better at creating this style of map. And I actually do want to get a lot better, because I have so many different ideas for creating maps like this. I think the next map that I actually want to create is the Eiffel Tower in Bloons TD6. Now that was going to be really challenging because we have like a prop limit. I don't know what like the maximum amount of props that we can place, but it should be really, really interesting to see if I can actually make it happen. All right, there we go. We beat round 40. Now the last thing we need to do is we need to go ahead and publish our map. And of course we have it called, or we named it Nebula. So let's go ahead and share. So if you guys would like to play this map yourself, here is the code. But thank you guys so much for watching. I really appreciate it. If you guys enjoyed, make sure you guys hit that like button, and I'll see you dudes in the next one.